In this video, I'm going to give you 10 different things that oftentimes handmade business owners do, and it makes it very hard for them to scale and grow their handmade business. Hi guys, my name is Vlad. I'm the owner of Tag Pup. It is the #1 pet product store on Etsy. You can check with eRank. I'm also the #1 in keyword handmade dog collar on Amazon Handmade. So when it comes to scaling your handmade business, I know a few things. And oftentimes people ask me to consult them on their handmade business and what they can do to help them scale their business. And I've compiled 10 things that are very common in the handmade industry that makes it very difficult for them to scale their business. Now, of course, side note is, if you don't want to scale your handmade business, if you don't want to scale your hobby, these are not all of these apply to you. But if you are wanting to scale your business, you might want to think about these things that happen with handmade business owners. Now, if you're new to this channel, make sure to subscribe, because this is where you're going to get high-level content from somebody that actually has succeeded on both major handmade platforms like Etsy and Amazon Handmade. And hit the bell notification to be notified when I do release my videos. So the first one, this is very common amongst a lot of handmade shop owners, is the supply and demand. A lot of people don't understand the supply and demand. Just because you're really good at something and you really have a passion for making something doesn't mean there's a demand for it and you should take it to the market. So for example, quilting. Quilting is a great fun thing to do. A lot of people love doing it, but you don't see people saying, "Oh, gotta stock up on my quilts." If you're doing quilting, instead of just doing quilting, do baptism quilting for babies. You know, baby baptized quilting. You look that up on Etsy. That's actually a really nice seller. Why? Because there's a demand. People are actually putting into keywords onto Etsy and looking for that. So if you do quilting, or you want to do some kind of along that genre, look into baby quilting blankets. Those are actually in demand because the data shows that there are search volume for that product. Okay, and number 2 kind of correlates with the first one, is if customers are buying from you just to support the seller and not because they need the product, there's a red flag. Because oftentimes they're only going to do that once. They're not going to be, okay, got to support Sally this month again, right? They're not going to do that. They're going to do it once and that's it. If the product wasn't what drove the sale, it was more like, oh, I want to support the local community, or I want to support the person that made this, not necessarily the product will. You're not going to make it on the marketplace online because they don't see the seller. They might have a thought. Somebody might like, oh, I'll go on Etsy to support the handmade community, but it's not sustainable. You have to have the product leading your sales. All right, and then the third one, and this is going to be a little bit controversial, but manufacturing. Handmade products are we have a disadvantage when it comes to manufacturing. So anything that you can do to improve your manufacturing, that will improve your price. And I talk about this all the time. Manufacturing does wonders to scalability and growing on the marketplace. Whatever happens in your shop, whatever happens in your room, the manufacturing process that you have will eventually make its way to your ranking, to your SEO, to your reviews, to your price, and so on. There's so many things that happens when you get your manufacturing right. It's our disadvantage, but if you can solve that, you're going to see some great growth. Number 4 is oftentimes people assume that people need it. They say, oh, everybody's going to need this. Everybody needs this. But what you need to do is look at the data. Not enough handmade shop owners look at data. Go on eRank, look at the search volume. When you have a product, a competitor that sells what you want to sell, look at their review. Put it on the recent reviews, filter it out, and see how often they're getting their reviews. And generally, my rule of thumb, if you've been following me, you find that if they have a review at least once a day, that's usually an indicator that they have 5 to 10 sales per each review. So if they have 1 review each day, they're probably getting that many sales per day. Now, if they're getting 5 reviews a day, that's a great sign. But if they're getting a review once every month, it doesn't show any promise, even if you're gonna rank right next to that competitor that is top ranking, right? So there's a ceiling on how much you can sell. Number 5 is assuming that nobody does this. This is a whole new idea. I hear this over and over and over. There's several reasons why nobody's doing it. It could be because nobody needs it. Nobody actually pays money for it. So a lot of people say, I don't want to sell something that doesn't sell. That's why nobody's doing it. And 2, nobody knows about it, right? If they don't know what to type into the search engine, they're not going to find you, right? If you have this unique product idea, but there's no keyword that's attached to that product that they're going to find, because keywords are a roadmap. This is how they find you. Assuming that nobody's doing that is not a good sign, because there's a reason why nobody's doing it, and that might be your biggest barrier. Number 6 is they don't take it serious enough. So there is a hobby, right? They started a hobby, they're doing something they really love, they're passionate about it, it's really fun for them to do, and they're like, hey, maybe I can take it to Etsy and sell this and make some money on Etsy. Because of that hobby mindset is the reason why they might be struggling, because they're not thinking of how can I get better equipment? How can I get more supply so I can buy it at a cheaper cost? How can I improve my manufacturing? What SEO tools that I need to know to help scale it? What keywords are attached to this product? Instead, they're so focused on the crafts and the creativity, they're not focusing on other things. They're not thinking serious enough. So I would recommend finding somebody that is taking it serious, is trying to grow their business, and preferably in person, so you can go to their shop and really get inspired of what they're doing and think about it on a much serious scale. All right, so the 7th one, and this one's a little personal, a little kind of like, it might be nudging you a little bit. Hopefully it's not offensive or of any sort, but it's feeding off of compliments of friends and family, right? Like, oh, honey, that's so amazing. That's so good. Wow, great job. You need to be able to post a product on the marketplace, and for the customers, without knowing you as a person, without knowing anything about you, be able to look at the product, look at the price, and say, that makes sense, and I need that product, and they buy it. I had a conversation with a lady. She's like, yeah, everybody loved this product when I brought it to work, but then when I brought a lot more to sell, nobody wanted to buy it. So, right, people vote with their dollars, and that's really what you should focus on, is, hey, can I get sales? Honestly, I know people comment on my skill, but can I make sales on the marketplace? Number 8 is low profit margin, and that has to do with the manufacturing, but having such low profit margins that it doesn't make sense for you to continue the business. It does not sustainable, and that is tied into your manufacturing. If you can improve, and when I say manufacturing, don't let that scare you. I'm manufacturing kind of as an umbrella term, and handmaking is kind of a sub section of that. So when you improve your manufacturing, when you improve your supply chain, when you improve what machines you're going to use, you're going to improve your profit margin. Okay, number 9 is not spending enough time to learning about SEO. They're really good about handcrafting. They're really good on making the handmade stuff. They're really maybe even good at trade shows or going to little flea markets and selling their handmade soap or whatever, but they're not really good about learning about the SEO, learning how the marketplace works. That's really one of the number 1 problems that I hear all the time. People do not want to invest into learning about the technicals, the back end of a search engine, the back end of a marketplace. I think that's one of the biggest mistakes, because if you can figure that out, then you can optimize, you can place your listing appropriately. And at the end of this video, I will include a few videos that you guys can watch to help you with your SEO. And number 10, do not want to optimize the process. And I totally get this. People want to stay true to their handmade. They want to stay true to the craftsmanship of their product. And they're the only ones that can make it the way that the product is. But here's a news flash. Somebody can make it the same way, at least, or better. When you're making something, no matter what it is, there's always a process to it. If you break it down into 5, 10 steps, you can have somebody else do that product. When you break it down to 5, 10 steps, you will see that certain processes, certain points of the process, you can buy machines that they will do that process faster, so you can cut it down to maybe 4 processes instead of 5. You will see your product increase in speed and quality when you start doing that. There was a story about a painter. I believe he lived in the 90s. He basically, what he did is he was really good at painting faces, and people wanted to hire him to do portraits of them. And what he would do is he would hire a bunch of other painters to paint everything but the face. So they would paint the background, the body, the positioning, the textures, everything except they left the face out. And then he would come in and paint the face. He painted thousands when other artists only painted hundreds of paintings. So he optimized this process while keeping true to what he's good at. So something that you really need to think about, that you can optimize your process. You can optimize your handmaking process, and that will you really make wonders with your handmade business. So those are the 10 things that I have to oftentimes see handmade business owners do that's holding them back from growing their Etsy shop. So if you found this video to be useful, make sure to like in the comment section. If you found one of these to be not true, or maybe there's something you want to add that you oftentimes see handmade shop owners do, please comment on the bottom. I would love to have a conversation with you about that. And until next time, have a good one.